Hi, and welcome to the second installment of the Trauma Informed Research Collaborative focused on trauma informed strategies for schools and classroom teachers. Um, this presentation is centered on wellness strategies for classroom teachers. I am Regina Rahimi, serving as part of the Trauma Informed Research Collaborative at Georgia Southern University. I am a professor in the Department of Middle Grades and Secondary Ed. I am part of a collaborative with three other colleagues, Dr. Dolores Liston, who is in the Department of Curriculum Studies, Dr. Tamara Hunt, who is in the Department of Kinesiology, and Dr. April Garrity, who is in the Department of Speech, Communications, and Disorders. We have come together to provide a series of professional development as we are all interested in the work of trauma-informed practice and its possibilities and indications for supporting classroom teachers and other educational staff, but also for supporting the needs of students, which is ultimately what we're hoping to do is provide atmospheres and environments for local and community youth that can help them be successful. So let's start with just understanding why it's important to talk about teacher wellness. It's been a topic that has been coming to the forefront more and more as we talk about mental health and mental well-being and social emotional learning. We sometimes overlook that the role of teacher wellness and how that plays in creating a climate and environment in classrooms. I want to start by just looking at the World Health Organization and how it has framed understanding what wellness is, and just a couple of key points in their definition. One is that understanding that mental health is more than just the absence of mental disorders. So just because you don't have a particular mental disorder does not mean that you're experiencing mental wellness. Also, it's important to understand that mental health is an integral part of health. Indeed, there's no physical health without a mental wellness. And so I think that's a critical point to underscore. And then finally, mental health is determined by a range of socioeconomic, biological, and environmental factors. Mental health is integral and essential component of health. And as we mentioned above, it's more than just not having a mental disorder. It's a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. And finally, mental health is fundamental to our collective and individual ability as humans to think, emote, interact with each other, earn a living, and enjoy life. On this basis, the promotion, protection, and restoration of mental health can be regarded as a vital concern of individuals, communities, and societies throughout the world. And I think that's why the focus on understanding, first of all, acknowledging that classroom teaching, working with students, and working with youth in general can be a stressful situation, and supporting those educational professionals that work with students and helping them maintain their professional and personal wellness is extremely important. So again, why this topic of teacher wellness and the concept of trauma-informed practice? Looking at the Merrimack Teacher Survey, and I have embedded some links within this presentation. I'm going to give an overview of the presentation, and then I would urge you to go back later and click on these links to get a more nuanced discussion of each of the topics. But there is a teacher morale survey that goes out every year to talk about teachers' professional morale and wellness. Okay? And so looking at some of the data from that most recent survey, they found that 1/3 of teachers reported dissatisfaction with their jobs. 1/4 of teachers reported feeling a lack of respect. 17% noted that they had a lack of control within their own classrooms. 42% said professional growth suffered due to some own mental health issues. And only 2% of those surveyed, and it was thousands of teachers that were surveyed, only 2% said that their district offered support for mental health. So again, we're underscoring the importance of teachers' well-being in supporting students. We also argue that, and as research does, that teacher wellness has been linked to higher rates of teacher attrition and job satisfaction. They stick around longer. They're happier in their classrooms. They're more engaged in their work. They improve student, teacher, and professional relationships. When teachers are feeling satisfied, when they have their own feeling of wellness, then they're able to promote relationships with each other. They're able to promote and support relationships with their students. And it's a win-win for everybody involved. It creates a more positive school climate for everybody involved, and they're able to better model those social emotional learning practices for the students in their classroom. Jennings and Greenberg, I just cited them because they frame things like a pro-social classroom. So what would a pro-social classroom look like? It would look like a classroom where there are very close teacher-student relationships, where out of respect and camaraderie and students are able to thrive in that environment. There's effective classroom management. Pro-social classrooms support a classroom that is organized, that is well run, and that is able to be sustained throughout the school year. And pro-social classrooms support effective social emotional implementation and modeling. So we can support students and model for them how to mitigate effects of trauma, how to support them when they're dealing with emotional outbursts. So understanding pro-social classrooms and the need for teachers to be socially and emotionally sound in those classrooms is important. Causes of teacher burnout and dissatisfaction, one of the largest reported, is a lack of connectedness. So teachers talk about in a lot of research that either personally with students or with their administration, they don't feel connected within the schools. So we know that any ways that we can help teachers be connected within their buildings, that can sustain their satisfaction and overall lead to their wellness. So what are some practices in general that can support teacher wellness? Building connection with the administration, where administration takes personal responsibility to maintain relationships with their faculty and staff. They get to know their faculty and staff. Faculty and staff feel rewarded. They feel acknowledged. They feel like they have a personal proponent in the building in their administration. So that's incredibly important for teachers to feel connected in the building. Collaboration and team building. In what ways can teachers collaborate and build teams within the school? Can they collaborate across grade levels? Can they collaborate within grade levels? How can these meaningful collaborations be established so that they can feel more connected within the building? Professional development on topics like teacher wellness, supporting your work, being connected, social emotional learning, professional development that recognizes and puts teachers at the center of that teacher development and professional development. Teachers need to feel respected. In what ways can the building, the staff, the administration serve to help teachers feel respected? Giving planning periods with fewer administrative tasks so they can have some autonomy within the building so that they can make those relationships. They can take time to work on their own emotional well-being during the day. Bonuses to reduce financial stress. While we know that's not always, we're not always able to control that, anything that we can do to help mitigate some of the outside stresses that teachers feel would be helpful towards their sense of wellness. smaller class sizes, fewer administrative tasks, teacher breaks. One great suggestion is hiring a building level substitute that actually works to give teachers built-in breaks throughout the day, so that teachers can have a 15-minute just emotional composition before they go back in and tackle their students in their next class. So trying some of these practices that support teacher wellness ultimately could lead to teacher attrition and impact student learning. And then having therapists that come into the building from time to time, or having access to therapists through their districts, could be a form of supporting teacher wellness that leads to students and teacher success. Other practices that have been popular as of late is supporting mindfulness practice for teachers, giving them the tools, access to resources that could help them understand what are mindfulness practices and self-care practices, having teachers recognize what triggers them within the classroom. Sometimes if they've experienced trauma, they can be re-traumatized by events within the classroom. Finding wait time on responding, and then recognizing what is compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma. And by that we mean if you are working as a classroom teacher or educational professional or any professional with youth that have experienced trauma, you can sometimes experience these phenomenon called compassion fatigue, where you just get exhausted because you're so invested in the experiences of those that have been traumatized. Or you can find yourself traumatized through their experiences and what they've experienced. So being aware of those, and providing teachers and other people that are involved with working with youth to understand and recognize the signs of those phenomena is important. Building teacher-student relationships, again, to help with that sense of collaboration and connectedness with their students. I advocate for a book that I use in one of my classrooms called I Wish My Teacher Knew, How One Question Can Change Everything for Our Kids, by Kyle Schwartz. She does a really good job of providing very specific practices for teacher-student engagement. And so becoming more engaged with students can lead to higher feelings of connectedness in the building and ultimately professional satisfaction. And some of her suggestions are welcome kits and food drawers and service projects and modeling optimism and developing this trauma-informed approach and conferencing. Those are general strategies, but she has a wealth of very specific strategies that teachers can employ specifically for teacher-student engagement. Professional relationships, supporting ideas that give teachers connectedness in that way through coffee meetings. Maybe that's something you can arrange during the day, or it could be arranged in the morning before school to give them an opportunity for some personal contact and connection. Common planning times, teacher-led professional development, where teachers are able to figure out and develop ideas for their own professional development. Hey, I think we really, could use some topics on this and letting them be the grassroots motivation for the professional development. Team teaching, and then the recognition of contributions, having administration, having the school recognize the work that teachers are doing in a more explicit way, can all support these feelings of connection and help support teacher wellness. Other suggested practices: frequent communication or check-ins with teachers. Hey, I just wanted to see how you were doing today. I want to make sure everything's going well, outside of just this evaluation cycle. Listening and responding to work-related complaints, positive supportive performance conversations, and that goes back to the evaluation process, making sure they're supportive rather than just evaluative. Celebrating, encouraging teamwork, teachers sharing practices and expertise, building senses of community, common planning time, PLCs and learning groups, but done very effectively so that they maximize teachers' time and teachers don't see them as just an added duty, is important. And so lastly, I'll leave with some recommended resources. These are all, again, resources that can help understand what trauma is in the classroom, but more important, help teachers really look at themselves and see if they're maintaining their own sense of wellness, so that they're able to work with traumatized children and not get a sense of burnout and be able to maintain their professional and personal health. And then lastly, like each one of the presentations in this series, there is a brief survey we're just asking you to fill out, just to let us know how this presentation served you and what information, if any, was absent from this or that you'd like in future professional developments. Thank you very much, and I wish you luck in all of your work.